Battle of two murals, one that got painted on a Tucson city street and one that got shut down just prior to the project getting started. Both murals originally given the green light with permits granted by the city of Tucson. So the question is, why did the city allow one piece of artwork and not the other? Alexis Burdine and searching for answers in tonight's N4 Tucson investigation.
We took our questions to city leaders, looking for a clear understanding of the city's permit process when it came to these two murals. But what we got back were two conflicting stories.
According to city officials, who gets a permit for a project is all in who asks for it. We are told that if a public official asks for it, it's usually granted under what's called protected government speech. In the case of the Black Lives Matter mural, City Councilwoman Lane Santa Cruz, a public official, asked for the permit, and City Manager Mike Ortega approved it, unlike the pro-police Blue Line mural. That request came from a private citizen. So we wanted to know why a permit was issued for the Blue Line mural in the first place, if a public official didn't ask for it. And that is when city officials told us one story, and hours later, a very different story. At first, we were told a permit was never issued for the Blue Line mural because after telling the applicant the permit would be approved, the city manager consulted with the city attorney who said the permit should not be issued. In a statement, Assistant City Manager Albert Elias said in part, the applicant was advised by transportation staff that the permit would be issued later that Friday afternoon. When the manager and city attorney discussed the permit request that afternoon, the city attorney advised staff not to issue the permit. As soon as the manager informed me of this, I spoke to transportation staff and told them that on the advice of the city attorney, we would not be issuing the permit. I asked them to inform the applicant of that and let them know why it was not being issued. But the N4 Tucson investigators found the permit was issued and later that day revoked. Hours after we told the city we had the permit, the city gave us story number 2, saying yes, the permit was issued. The city attorney was not consulted until after that issuance, and Elias simply forgot, saying after reconnecting with Assistant CM Elias, it became clear that the permit was actually issued and revoked. ACM Elias did not recall that permit had actually been issued and then revoked within that short time frame. And story number 2 now says the city manager and city attorney didn't discuss the permit request until after the permit was issued, and it was then revoked, saying the consultation and discussion with the city attorney occurred after the manager had authorized the approval, and concerns about the history of the Blue Line and the requesting organization were brought forward by a member of the DTM staff and the mayor's office the following day. It was out of this discussion between the manager and the city attorney that the recommendation from Mr. Rankin was made to the manager, mayor, and council. The city's conflicting statements make it unclear who or what was really behind the city's decision to issue one permit and either not issue or revoke the other. But City Attorney Mike Rankin's statements, going back to early July on all of this, have remained consistent throughout. He was never consulted until after the permit issuance, saying, I am fully aware that anyone who might be unhappy with this advice and decision will point out that a group was recently allowed to paint a large message on a public street downtown. So how can the city attorney allow that message and not others? My answer is that I was not consulted about the other event or the permits issued to allow it to proceed. Now that I have been consulted, I have advised as described above and specifically recommended that no further permits or authorization to paint or repaint or similarly marked city streets be granted, regardless of the content of the message that the applicant might want to convey. So, for now, no more public murals will be appearing on city streets.
This isn't the last we've heard on this subject. At least one Tucson City Council member is calling for a clear process for approving these types of requests in the future, saying the city attorney cannot create policy. That's up to the mayor and city council. Investigating for you, Alexis Burdine, News 4 Tucson.